welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. It is Friday and that means that it's time for a Barcelona news roundup. And on the agenda today, we have some news on the front of Umtiti. We've got some news on Malcom, Coutinho, and the latest on the future of Ernesto Valverde. All of that and a bit more, of course. It's coming right up. Let's do this! But I just want to start with some very quick transfer news regarding Adrien Rabiot to Barcelona. Of course, you've been hearing a lot about this over the last few months because according to AS this morning, Adrien Rabiot now has been completely discarded by Barcelona and we're no longer interested in signing him on a free transfer come the summer transfer window. And obviously the arrival of Frenkie de Jong in the summer has made this somewhat expected news, but according to the report, the recent breakthrough of Carlos Alenya in the first team has also been a very contributing factor. They also say that Rabiot's demands were getting a bit out of hand. His agent apparently has been flogging him all around Europe, trying to get the highest bidder, trying to get the clubs to pay the maximum money for him. Barcelona are not looking to enter right now a bidding war. We don't really have the capability to do that right now, and certainly not for Rabiot. And I think right now he is off the list. We're not tracking him, we're not looking to pursue him, and as of right now, Adrien Rabiot potentially no longer a target for Barcelona, which I think in the circumstances, given what we got in midfield, given where we have to spend our budget in the summer, I think that there would be the right decision. And I've got some good news regarding injuries and I've got some bad news regarding injuries. What I'm going to give you first is the good news so you can stay in somewhat good spirits, because Umtiti this morning did take part in some, not all, but some of this morning's training session with the rest of the team. He was in full training, working with the ball, working with the rest of his teammates. It wasn't quite the full session, but nonetheless very, very encouraging to see him back training with the rest of the group. Umtiti also spoke recently about how he's going to do everything in his power. That was the words that he used. I'm going to do everything to return for the first leg against his former side Lyon in the Champions League. And whilst of course I really hope that he returns as soon as possible, I want to see him back on the pitch. He's a massive centre back for us. He's huge in our team. But at the same time, don't rush back here, because of course we all remember back in November, Barcelona against Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitano. Umtiti surprisingly was in the team for that game. He played 90 minutes, he played pretty well, but at the end of that game, it seemed like it was all too soon. It seemed like he'd rushed back, things wasn't healed, and at the end of that game, he had pain in his knee, and he's been out ever since. So if he's going to come back, just make sure that everything's going to be okay, and of course with that knee right now, we don't know how things are going to hold up, but nonetheless, good to see him back with the group for part of the training session. And I simply had to give you that good news first, simply because the bad news really is quite bad. Arthur Melo, out of absolutely nowhere, we didn't know about this, we didn't really notice this, it's come out of nowhere. Arthur Melo is going to miss between 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury, and that for me is absolutely gutting. Reading that this morning, massive shock. Tests that were basically carried out this morning. I don't know when he picked up this injury, but he has got a hamstring problem. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks. That's nearly the next month, and that is a massive, massive problem for us, simply because of the games that he's going to miss. He's going to miss the likes of Lyon, the first leg, a massive game in our season. He's going to be out for that. The Clásicos at the end of the month. Big, big, big blow there. Arthur Melo out injured, and to replace him, we're going to have to work really hard in that midfield. And you saw how before in the Clásico, that kind of tempo that he keeps up, the kind of momentum that he gives us in the game when he can control things in midfield, when he can take the pressure off. We are really, really going to struggle to match that kind of quality in our midfield, and sadly, 3 to 4 weeks Arthur's out for. And that news does bring me swiftly on to Philippe Coutinho. And the reason now that I come on to that is very simple, really. Where exactly did we sign Philippe Coutinho to play? That is my biggest problem right now, because Coutinho is in the worst stage of his Barcelona career, no doubt about that. His toughest spell, he's low on confidence, he's not affecting games, he's not playing well, he's not looking good on the pitches, he doesn't really look like he belongs there at the moment, and the reason for that is that lack of confidence, but also that lack of a real position, a real role in the Barcelona team. When we signed Philippe Coutinho from Liverpool for what will be the 3rd highest transfer fee of all time, did we have a role in mind for him, or did we think we're just going to sign this megastar for massive money on massive wages and we're just going to fit in somewhere? Because that is not the Barcelona way. That is more of what Real Madrid used to do with their Galacticos. Sign the biggest name, sign the biggest star, and think about where you're going to play them later on. That is not how we should be doing things, and clearly Coutinho right now is not working on the left wing. In some games he can impact them, but in the majority of them it's very, very difficult when he comes inside to actually compete with Messi in central areas, with Suarez, and that is why he's not really getting the best out of his ability on that left hand side. And then you look to midfield. And the reason that I bring this up now is because Arthur is out. Now, Arthur and Coutinho, completely different players. But I just wonder here, can we sort of reshape our midfield to have more holding players, the likes of Busquets, Rakitic, Vidal? They're more defensive-minded. They're a bit more withdrawn in terms of creative talent. Could we now perhaps reshape that midfield and put Coutinho in a midfield role for the massive games that we have coming up, simply because in Arthur's absence we need something. We cannot get the same quality as Arthur, we cannot get the same characteristics as Arthur, but we need something else in that midfield now, because I think a midfield there of Busquets, Vidal, Rakitic, we've seen many times this season, it doesn't really work. There's not enough different kinds of players in there, it's too much of the same thing. We need a bit more spice in there, we need something a bit different, and could Coutinho now try and make that name for him in midfield and step up there? Because quite simply, in Dembele's absence, on that left wing, in an attacking role, it hasn't worked out. He hasn't managed to step up. And now, of course, the big question is, can he do it elsewhere? If the answer is no, we've got a big problem here. Simply because Coutinho isn't quite fitting in. We need to play him somewhere where he can get confidence in himself, where he can feel at home, where he can really establish himself. Is that in midfield? Is that on the left? I really don't know. But what we are going to see in the weeks to come is, will Valverde find a solution? Sports say the dressing room, the players, the coaches, they're all very much behind Coutinho. They still have that faith in him. They still believe that he'll come good, and they've still got confidence in his ability. And again, in those big games to come, and we have got massive games coming up where we need our players to step up, much like we did on Wednesday. Coutinho couldn't do it on that occasion. Will he have another chance? If he does, will he make his mark this time? Because a player who certainly did make his mark was none other than Malcom, one of the stars of El Clasico, no doubt about that. And obviously his performance was very promising, his goal was very impressive and massively important on the night for us. But it's actually this attitude that I want to talk about right now, that attitude, that mentality, because I genuinely believe that right now, in terms of the way that he's applied himself and the way that he's conducted himself at Barcelona, he has done everything, and he is doing everything in his power to really make a name for himself at Barcelona and really make a success of his transfer. Because let's face it, Malcom has not had an easy start to his Barcelona career. And let's remember here, this is a player who turned his back on signing for Roma at the very last second. He turned his back on them in a heartbeat once he knew about our interest. He only wanted to come to Barcelona. He made that very, very clear. And because he turned down another club quite simply to come here, you might think that he's very frustrated at his lack of game time. You might think that he's angry with the coaches, that he's not getting more minutes, that he could have easily signed elsewhere. But no, we haven't seen that from Malcom. Not for one single second have we heard frustration or angry words or a bit of unrest within training. Instead, he's kept his head down, he's worked incredibly hard, he's kept training with a lot of intensity, with a lot of pride as well, in his own ability. He believes in himself, and when his chances come, just like the other night against Real Madrid, when he grabbed it with both hands, and just like another goal, of course, he scored at the San Siro, a vital goal in the Champions League, given just 10 minutes on the field, and again, he makes his mark with a big goal. And when he was asked if he expected to start on Wednesday, he admitted that the game against Real Madrid was a massive surprise that he was in the lineup from the very beginning. But this is what he said. He said, I was 100% prepared for this game, whether I played for 5 minutes at the end or for the whole game. I was ready. And I think that speaks volumes for Malcom. He has been ready, he is ready, and I think if we call on him, we can put our faith in this man to come on, work very hard for the team. I believe he's a real force in attack as well, in the way that he goes about his game. The intensity is always good in his performances, and I think certainly we have to see more from this man. He's got a very good mentality, a fantastic attitude, he's a great person to have around the squad in terms of his hunger to succeed, and I really do hope, with these injuries, with the big games that we've got coming up, that we do see Malcom in the team more often. And finally, guys, I want to talk here about Ernesto Valverde, simply because a big front cover this morning from Mundo Deportivo, and now remember the MD are the paper with the closest ties to the board, and it simply says, Valverde wants to stay at Barca. Those closest to him, according to this report, believe that he has the desire and the hunger to extend his contract at Barcelona, which expires at the end of the season, and stay on as head coach. MDs say that he's got a really good relationship with the entire squad, and in particular with the real heavyweights of the dressing room. He gets on well with our key players. The balance and the mood within the camp is very good indeed. And with Bartomeu stating on several occasions so far this year that he wants Valverde to continue and that he only sees his future with Barcelona, it's looking more and more likely now that Ernesto Valverde is going to remain beyond the end of the season. But I still do feel like at the moment it's a decision that won't be made, it won't be confirmed until the latter stage of the season. We still have to see how things go. We've still got to see how things progress, and at the end of the season, and I think Valverde will sit down, thrash out his future, see how the fans react to him, of course, see how the players are reacting to him after the season we've had, and then decide whether he wants to stay beyond the end of the season. So that is basically all from the world of FCB right now, guys, and I have to say I'm absolutely gutted, really gutted about that Arthur injury. He's a player in our team that's so unique in that midfield in terms of the quality that he brings to the field, in terms of the play that he has. It's very difficult to replicate that from any other area. It is a big loss, and one that we're going to have to get over and find a way to really get around that. And let's not forget, of course, if it's not Coutinho in that midfield, if we're not going to reshape things to really compensate there for the absence of Arthur, there is a player who's been slowly developing himself, slowly working his way into this team and making a big impact in the games that he's played. That's Carlos Alenia. He's been getting more and more time with Valverde. He seems to be really fitting in now with the first team, a very mature performer. He's learning very quickly. I think he could be the man here to step in, to really step up. This is a massive opportunity for him here in some massive games, and it's going to be really interesting to see what Valverde does, to see how we spin this, because Arthur is, no doubt about it, a massive loss. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. I'll have more reaction coming up to this very soon indeed. We've got Athletic Club on Sunday. That's a massive game without the suspended Jordi Alba too. I'll see you then, guys. But until then, as always, Visca El Barça.